Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're seeing this face for the first time, my name is Special Joy, and on this channel I create content on pattern drafting and DIY. So today's video is a really special one. In this video I want to teach you guys how to cut and sew a Victorian corset. In this particular video we'll be doing the pattern drafting, and I want to use my mannequin to show you guys the measurement that you'll be needing for this tutorial. So if you're interested in this kind of tutorial, join me and let's start taking our measurements. If you don't have a mannequin, you can get someone to take your measurements for you. So we are going to take our vertical measurements first. So the measurement I'll take first is my shoulder measurements, my tape here, and I'll place the other one here. Okay, what I have is 15 inches. So in my videos, whenever I say take your shoulder measurement divided by 2, if you got 15 inches, you are going to divide your 15 inches by 2. For this tutorial also, before I forget, we are going to take our measurement from our shoulder to our waist line for the front, and we're still going to take the same measurement for the back. So I'm going to explain to you guys. And like I said, we'll be taking our vertical measurement first. So the first measurement I'll take is the distance from my shoulder to my bust point. So my bust point is this nipple point right here. So I'll place my tape on the shoulder like this, and I'll bring it to my nipple point. So what I have for this mannequin is 9.5 inches. The next measurement I'll take is the distance from the shoulder to the under bust point. So you can see the under bust point. I'll place my tape like this, and what I have is 13 inches. So I'm going to still keep my tape on this shoulder line, and I'll take the distance from my shoulder to my waist. So the waist is the curvy part that you can see here. That's where you are going to stop. So if you are taking this measurement for a client, you can just tie around your client. I don't know if you can see. You can just tie your client's waist like this. This curvy part is where you are going to use as the waist. This mannequin's own is really obvious. So what I have on this waist point for this mannequin is 16 inches. So we have taken the distance from our shoulder to our bust point, from our shoulder to our under bust, and from our shoulder to our waist, which is 16 inches. So the next measurement is the length of our top, which you can also call our hip line. So let's say I want the length of my top to be 24 inches. This is where I'm going to take. This is my top length. We'll be taking the same measurement for the waist. I said we'll take from our shoulder measurement to the back waist. Okay, so what we had for the front waist was 16 inches, and I'm going to measure from here also to the back waist. You can see this is what we have on the back. The back is shorter than the front by 2 inches. So for the back waistline, we have 14 inches. So you can go ahead and measure yourself. The front and the back waistline is not the same. For this mannequin, the front is 16, the back is 14 inches. I hope you guys understand. So the next measurement we'll be taking is our circumference. So I'll start by taking my bust circumference. So I'll place my tape like this, making sure that it's a little bit loose. And what I have for the bust is 33 inches. I'll take the same measurement for the under bust. So this is 26 inches for the under bust. I'll take the same thing for the waist like this, and what I have is 25 inches for the waist. And I'll take my hip measurement also, because that's the measurement I'm going to place on my top length, and the hip measurement is 40 inches. And the last measurement we'll take is our bust span measurement, which is our nipple to nipple. So from one of your nipple to the other one, I'm going to place this tape on this particular nipple, and I'll take it to the next nipple. So what I have is 6.5 inches. So I'm going to divide it by 2 like this, and then I'll use the measurement on my bust span line. So whenever I say take your nipple to nipple measurement, it means from one of your nipple to the other nipple. Yeah, so these are all the measurements that we'll be needing for this tutorial. Like I said, if you don't have a mannequin, get someone to take your measurements, and yeah, let's head over to our work table. I'll be cutting on my pattern paper first, so I'll start taking my horizontal measurements. So the upper part of this pattern paper is going to serve as my shoulder line. So I'll place my tape there and I'll take the distance from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. I'll do that and I'll rule a straight line across. The next point I'll take is the distance from my shoulder to my under bust, which is 13 inches. I'll place my tape on my shoulder line. I'll take my 13 inches and I'll also rule a straight line across. The next point I'll take is my waistline for the front, which is 16 inches. This pattern is just the pattern for the front. We'll draft the back pattern separately. I'll take my 16 inches and I'll also rule a straight line across. The last point I'll take is the length of my top. I'll also mark it and I'll rule a straight line across. To get my chest line, I'll go up from my bust point by 2 inches. It's going to give me 8 inches. I'll mark that and I'll also rule a straight line across. So I have my chest line, my bust point, my under bust point, my waist point, and my top length. On my shoulder line, which is the start of this pattern paper, I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. I will indicate that with a point. And for my neckline, for the width, I'm going to take 3 inches. And for the depth, I'll also take 3 inches. And I'll use my ruler to connect the two dots together. On the dots that I made indicating half of my shoulder measurement, I'm going to come down from that dot by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and then I'm going to slant into my neckline. I'll measure what I have on my shoulder line, which is 8 inches. I'll measure the same 8 inches on my chest line. I'll indicate that with a dot. I'll use my ruler to connect from the dot on my shoulder slope to meet the dot on my chest line. On my chest line, I'll place my bust circumference divided by 4 and I'll indicate that with a dot. I'll mark the straight line that I have on my armhole line, and whatever I have, I'm going to mark the middle point. So as you can see, what I have is 7 inches and the midpoint is 3.5 inches. I'll mark it. On that middle point, I'm going to go in by half an inch, just like you see me doing. I'll mark it and then I'll use my ruler to connect. I'll connect from the half an inch to meet my bust measurements on the chest line, and from the half an inch also to meet my shoulder line. What I'll do now is to take my bust span measurement, which is my nipple to nipple measurement. I'll take the measurement on my bust point, on my UBL, on my waistline, and on the top length, and I'll connect the dots into a straight line. So we are going to take our darts in on the waistline. So on the waistline on both sides, I'm going to go out by 0.75 inches. Please don't mind what my tape is reading. I'll take 0.5 inch on the right and 0.5 inch on the left, and then I'll connect to meet my under bust line using my ruler for both sides. On the top length, I'll go up by 1 inch, and then I'll also connect my dart to meet the 1 inch mark that I just made. I'll measure my shoulder line. What is left on my shoulder line is 5 inches. I'll mark the middle point, which is 2.5 inches. I'll connect straight from the 2.5 inches to meet my bust point like this. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten my over bust. So on that straight line that I have, which is the dart line, I'll go out by 0.5 inch on the left and on the right, and I'll connect to meet my bust point, just like you see me doing. After doing that, I'll go ahead and start placing my measurements. So on my chest line, I already have my bust circumference divided by 4. On my UBL, I'll place my UBL measurement divided by 4 and I'll replace the dot. On my waistline, I'll place my waist measurement divided by 4. I'll also replace the dot. And on the top length, I'll place my hip measurement divided by 4 and I'll connect all these dots into a straight line. I'll go ahead and take my side dart. So on the bust point on this other end, I'll go down by 2 inches, which is the difference between my shoulder to bust in front and my shoulder to bust on the back. I'll go ahead and connect from that point to meet my dart leg, just like you see me doing. So whatever the difference between the measurements of your shoulder to your bust at the front and at the back is, that's what you are going to take. But I think 2 inches is the standard. So on my chest line, in order to create an arc for my sweetheart neckline, I'm going to go up by 1.5 inches. So if you like, you can do 2 inches. I'm going to connect the dots into a straight line. What I'm going to do is to extend my dart leg that I have on the chest line. I'll extend it to meet these 1.5 inches that I just took. What I'll do is to draw out my sweetheart neckline. So I'll be using my ruler. I'll place my ruler on the bust point. That's how deep I want it to be, and I'll just curve it like this to meet one dart leg. So you can use your free hand if you don't have a ruler. I'll also connect from the other dart leg to meet the chest line on the other end like this, and then I'll blend it into my armhole just like you see me doing. The next thing I'll do is to tighten my under bust. I'm going to place my tape on my under bust and I'll take my under bust measurement divided by 4. I'll make a mark there and I'll measure what I have left, and what I have is 1 inches. So the 1 inch that I have there, I'm going to share it between the two sides of this pattern paper to tighten my under bust. So I'll be giving 0.25 to the center front and the remaining 0.75 to the side front. So note that I am taking this on my under bust line. I'll go ahead and use my marker to highlight my bust point so that you guys will understand what I'm doing. So I'll use my ruler to connect from the 2 darts that I just made to meet the formal darts that we have, and from that point I'll connect straight to meet my top length. So whatever measurement you get after measuring your under bust measurement, let's assume you add 0.5 inches. If what you got is 0.5, just make sure you divide it unequally. You can give 0.5 inch to the part going towards the center, and you give the remaining 1 inch to the part going towards the side. So guys, I'll go ahead and mark out these darts because we are going to cut it out. On my hem line, I'll go up by 1 inch and I'll just slant to meet this dart leg because I don't want the hem line to be just straight. So I want to create another line because I want to cut this center piece into 2 again. So from the first dart that I made with my pencil on the waistline, I'll measure what I have and I'll divide it by 2. So I'll mark out the middle point. What I have is 4 inches. I'll mark the middle point. And I'll also do the same thing for the UBL, and then I'll connect these 2 dots into a straight line to meet my chest line. So after doing that, I want to still tighten my waistline, but this is optional. If you don't want to do it, it's totally fine. So on the left I'll take half an inch, on the right I'll take half an inch, because I want to snatch my waistline. You can just draw the straight line without taking in your dart if you don't want to, but since I want my waist area to be really snatched, I'm going to remove 1 inch from my waist. So that is what I am doing. On my hem line, I'll also connect like this, just the way I took the other dart. So I'm going to mark out all these darts to show that we are going to cut everything out, and I'm going to label my pattern: the center front 1, center front 2, side front, and I'll go ahead and cut. So just look at what I'm doing carefully so that you know where to cut. I'll slash through the middle dart that I have on the center, and then I'll cut out the side darts. So I didn't cut it out completely. Just look at what I'm doing. I just want to make sure that the back and the front piece are the same length, because right now the front is longer than the back. So I'll use the other one to cover the darts like this, and I'll use my tape to hold it down, just like you can see. So if you don't understand, just look at what I'm doing. After doing that, I'll go ahead and cut these darts out. So I'm done cutting out the front part, and you can see that one side of the side that is short, so I'm going to place it on another piece of pattern paper, and I'll use my tape to hold it down, and then I'm going to complete it. So I'll just cut straight so that everything will be complete. So guys, so go ahead and start cutting the back. So I have another fresh piece of pattern paper, and the first measurement I'll take is my hem line. So the hem line for the front piece was 20 inches, and the measurement from my shoulder to my waist for the front is 16 inches, and that of the back is 14 inches. So we have difference of 2 inches. So I'm going to reduce that 2 inches from the 20 inches, and I'm going to mark 18 inches. So the hem line for the back is 18 inches. So the difference between our front waistline and our back waistline is 2 inches. So I minused the 2 inches from the 20 inches that we took for the front piece, and it gave me 18 inches. That is what I just marked. So the next measurement I'm taking is the distance from my shoulder to my bust, which is 10 inches, distance from my shoulder to my under bust, which is 13 inches, the distance from my shoulder to my waist, which is 16 inches, and the distance from my shoulder to my chest line, which is 10 inches. I'll go ahead and rule a straight line across all these dots that I've made. For my neckline for the back, the width I'm going to take 3 inches, and for the depth I'll take 1 inch, and I'll use my ruler to connect. On my shoulder line, I'll go ahead and place my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inches. I'll indicate that with a point, and I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and then I'll slant from the 1 inch into my neckline. On my chest line, I'll take my shoulder measurement divided by 4, the same measurement that I have on my shoulder line. I'll take it on my chest line. I'll indicate that with a point, and then I'll connect from my shoulder slant to meet the chest line. On my chest line, I'm going to place my bust circumference divided by 4, and the straight line that I have, I'll go ahead and find the middle point, and I will indicate that with a dot. After doing that, I'll use my ruler to curve out my armhole. So the next thing I'll do is to take my bust span measurement, which is my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. I'll take it on my chest line, on my bust point, on my waistline, and on my M line. So let me quickly label the lines that we have here so that you not get confused. I have my chest line, my bust point, my waistline, and my M line. So we don't need the UBL for the back. After taking all the points, I'll go ahead and connect the dots into a straight line. After doing that, the next thing I'll do is to take in my darts. On my chest line, I'll come down by 1 inch and I'll indicate the 1 inch with the dots. On my waistline, I'll do the same thing that we did for the front. I'll take in 0.75 inches on the left and 0.75 inches on the right, and I'll use my ruler to connect to meet the 1 inch below the chest line. The next thing I'll do is to start placing my measurements. On my chest line and my bust line, I'll take my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll replace my darts. On my waistline, I'll take my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll also replace my darts. And on my M line, I'll take my hip circumference divided by 4 and I'll connect the dot. On the M line, just like we did for the front piece, I'm going to go up by 1 inch and I'll just slant. This is because I don't want the M line of this top to just be straight, so I'll connect with a curve like this. The next thing I'll do is to adjust the back of this top, though we'll not be adding a zipper to this top, but once you adjust it, you are going to avoid any form of bulginess by the time we fix in our loop. So on the waistline, I went in by ½ an inch and I will just connect to meet my M line, and I'll connect from that point to meet my chest line, just like you can see. The next thing I'll do is to create the neckline that I want for the back, so I'll just use my ruler to connect from that end in a U form like this. So this is very simple. The next thing I'll do is to create another straight line to divide this back piece into 2, but this time I'll be doing it on the side back. So I'll measure from my dart leg to the end of the pattern paper, and I'll divide what I have there by 2. After dividing, I'm going to draw a straight line, and I'm still going to take 1 inch away from my waist area in order to snatch it, just like we did for the front. I'll take ½ an inch on the left and ½ an inch on the right, and then I'll connect my dart like this. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, just look at what I'm doing. This is what we did for the front piece. I'm just trying to snatch my waistline. And this is optional. You can decide to just draw the straight line and not taking your dart. On this other dart, I'm going to go out by 0.25 on the left, and I'll take 0.25 on the right also. After doing that, I'll connect from there to meet the waistline, and from the waistline to meet the hip line. So this is basically all that we need to do for the drafting of the back part of this top. So as you can see, I went ahead to cancel the darts area to show that we are going to cut all this part out. So I'll be adding loops to this top. I'm not going to use a zipper. So from the center back, I'm going to go in by 1½ inch on my neckline, on my waistline, and on the M line, and I'll use my ruler to connect all these dots together. So I'm going to cut this part out because I will not be needing this part anymore. So I'll go ahead and label my center back 1, center back 2, center back 3. So it's very important for you to label so you don't join the wrong pieces together. So just look at where I'm cutting so you know where to cut. After cutting, I'll go ahead and place my pattern papers on my fabric folded into 2, and I'll cut, adding 1 inch allowance all the way around this pattern paper. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the sewing version of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.